It's May 18th, 2020, and I've been living in Morocco for a little over 4 months and having a really good time, all things considered. In this episode, I'll be talking about architecture and building materials used here in Ouarzazate, Morocco. I'll be going over older construction methods and newer ones, residential architecture and public architecture, and some design elements as well. Let's start by looking at a basic building block. These blocks are made by mixing sand and red clay soil with water. The blocks are formed up using these open-ended metal boxes and then set in the sun to dry. The blocks are then stacked to form walls and rooms and covered with a stucco made of red clay soil and straw. The straw is what's left over from harvesting grain, and the red clay soil and sand are available in layers in the riverbed, which is continually reformed by the occasional rains. The rain also causes the stucco to erode from time to time, so it needs to be maintained to keep the blocks from eroding away as well. The ceilings in the traditional houses are made by reeds and supported by beams. There is often an opening in the ceiling which lets light in, keeps the air fresh, and allows heat to escape. The reeds grow quickly in the ravines between the farms and the riverbed, reaching several meters in a single growing season, and then drying into hard canes that are very useful for a number of applications. These flat roofs are sturdy enough to walk on and useful for making multi-story buildings like Kasbar Tawrirt, a 4-story central palace in the oldest part of the city. The newer construction uses concrete blocks and posts formed on site using concrete and rebar. This rooftop story is being built with specially engineered blocks designed to keep the interior of the building insulated. The chambers of trapped air decrease thermal bridging in the bricks, slowing the transfer of heat through the wall. Here you can see the mortar holding the bricks together is the same material being used as a stucco on the side of the wall. This is made by mixing Portland cement with sand. Then the walls are covered in a layer of red clay paint. I'm not quite sure how the ceilings are done in new construction. I've seen this process a little bit, but I don't have any video of it. And in this area now those blocks have stucco over them. I didn't understand before what was holding the blocks up there. So if anyone could give me any insight on that, that'd be great. Thanks. While we're up here, let's take a look at these step pyramid motifs on the corners of a lot of the buildings. This gives a nice clean place to start from when building the next story, and it fits with a greater series of step pyramid motifs that you see a lot in Amazigh culture. This is the outside of my kitchen window, for example. Commercial spaces are often in these arched walkways on the side of the streets. The streets in Ouarzazate include wide pedestrian walkways with gardens and seating areas, as well as narrow streets that are not for cars. Sometimes the second story will be built over a street, and this can be a good place to park a car. Now that we've gone over the basics, let's look at some of the specific details in the building across the street from my house, which is a mosque. We'll start from the ground up. Around the mosque is a large tiled area that is the median between two wide streets. There are 2 main entryways as well as a couple shops on the exterior of the building. The entries have large wooden doors and they are framed beautifully by these decorated columns on either side. I'm really enthusiastic about Islamic geometric tile design because it contains a lot of really interesting geometric principles that have been worked out over the millennia and multiple civilizations distilled down into beautiful multicolored flat art. In my opinion, Morocco has some of the coolest Islamic geometric tile design in the world, and I think that speaks to the importance of being good at design, craftsmanship, and decor in Moroccan culture. Above the doorways is another form of Islamic geometric design, but this kind is carved out of plaster before it's dry, and this allows for longer and curvier lines than the tile design. At the top is this decorative edge, and then there's also these overhangs which create a little bit of a drip edge, which help to protect the walls and make the building more resilient. Over the middle, spanning the large open area where people come to pray, is the dome. On top of the dome is a spire, and this is topped with a crescent moon. The dome has an octagonal base, and some of these 45-degree angles are incorporated into the building's overall footprint so that people are oriented east when praying. Usually the doors are open during the day, and on Fridays there are so many people that the sidewalks are full as well. But these days, because of quarantine, it's mostly closed except the guy who goes in to do the call to prayer. The other major feature up here is the minaret. It's basically a tower with a spiral staircase and a balcony at the top. There is also a megaphone and a stork nest at the very top. The stork nest is anchored in place with another spire and an old light fixture. This creates a solid transition between the architecture of the humans and the architecture of the birds. Also on the minaret are two more tile designs, one being based on the 8-pointed star, which is a great building block to work with in any fourfold geometric design. For example, these 8-pointed stars are even used in the sidewalks, and one of these bricks is over the drain for my washing machine in the kitchen of my apartment. The other design on the minaret is actually based on a design made with circles. But if you look closely, you'll notice that in each basic shape of the design, there is a smaller pattern of even smaller tiles. So that gives an overview of a few different exterior possibilities. Now let's talk a little bit about interior details. Interior walls are usually stucco or tile. In this case, there's some printed tile as well as a hand-painted painting here of a house looking over a lake. Here you can see the reeds sticking out, and there's some mountains in the background, so this is maybe a good scene of some architecture here in Ouarzazate with a typical landscape. Fuel in this case is gas, and that's for hot water and for cooking. Also, because I live in a city block, there aren't a lot of windows, but this shaft helps keep the house cool and lets extra light in as well. So that about sums things up for this architecture episode. My friends are still practicing their stunts. And I did manage to get a little bit of footage of the baby storks up in the nest. Also, I just want to say thanks to my friend Hamid for stopping by with his package of face masks, and also encourage anyone, if you know people who are from a different country or speak a different language or anything like that, if you can be a good friend to them and help them with whatever things they may need during this time, that would be really appreciated, trust me. Thanks everyone for your help and encouragement, and thank you for watching. And if you have a moment, feel free to check out my YouTube channel and subscribe if you're into that sort of thing. Thanks.